What's up, boys? Tricks Ridiculous back with another video. And oh baby, I know you saw that Hawkeye showcase stream. We're going to be going through it. I'm going to give you my thoughts and kind of right off the bat what I see standing out from Hawkeye's kit. Let me tell you, I am very, very excited. I'm going to share with you what I think are the standout skills and actually how I'm going to be building my Hawkeye when he does release. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a laid back video. I'm just going to be kind of bringing you through the actual Crystal Dynamics stream and kind of pausing and talking through some of the different arrow types here and the different skills, but let's get right into it. So before we do, if you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe for more, and follow on Twitch as well, link in the description. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So right off the bat, obviously these are just my thoughts, right? And we'll have to see Hawkeye in game to really understand how good some of these perks are. But based on what I saw in this dev stream, I think I can give a solid recommendation for how I feel Hawkeye will shine, really the best play style for him, and how I plan to initially build him. Now, overall impressions of what I saw, he looks phenomenal. I'm not gonna go too crazy into this, but he looks absolutely great. I'm so excited to play him, and anyone who's really looking to complain that he's just another Kate Bishop, just kind of like a clone of Kate Bishop, they're totally misinformed. They definitely didn't see any of the gameplay, and they're just looking for a lazy way to complain. So with that out of the way, getting into the skills, I'm actually pretty torn on which arrow type will actually be his standout arrow. I do believe that we will have to look at the actual mastery tree first to really see what will happen, because those can have a major impact on the actual skills that you use, and we did not get to see those during the dev stream. However, if I was to pick a standout right now, I do believe that it would actually be the cluster arrows with the tripwire arrows on the side of them. Now, they don't do high damage, but rather they do stun damage, and you'll see why in just a minute, why I think that's best. And to be honest, I was actually a little surprised that the tripwire arrows are a power attack only, right? So you have to charge up fully to get that tripwire. You can't just spam it, with a light attack. But I still predict that this grouping will be the best choice, and here's why. So first of all, I'm not really sold on the actual Razor Arrow Deadeye combo. It's a little weird to me. I don't see the value in charging up a single shot for, 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack, all the way up to 5 stacks to just keep upping your damage and knockback on a single target. It might be good for a single target, maybe bosses, but I don't think it's going to be worth the time. I think it's going to be kind of clunky to just charge up every single arrow multiple charges on one target. Might be good for bosses, we'll have to see, but I don't think it's going to be super useful in a crowded fight. Okay, and then we have the pulsar arrows. Now, these look like they can do a lot of damage and have a large explosion radius, and they can even pin enemies. But there's two big downsides to these arrows for me. First of all, you have to manually detonate the charges. You have to do L2 plus square after setting one out to actually manually detonate it. And you also have to wait for the charges to actually build up to get the maximum damage out of them. So that can be a little clunky to manage, I suspect. And secondly, the animation for these is absolutely terrible. This is the same limp dick animation as the explosive arrows that Kate has. To me, that's a deal breaker on that fact alone. I cannot stand to play with that type of clunkiness. I don't think that they're going to be very useful in fights, even if they're powerful. I just don't like the lob style of effect for that. So that leaves us with the cluster arrows. Now, I do, really think that the clusters will end up being the best, and a couple reasons why. So first of all, we don't know exactly, but if, at default it launches 3 arrows in a small cluster, right? Doing medium damage and high stun. When charged, it turns into the tripwire that clotheslines everything it hits and can even, trip smaller enemies. Now, I haven't been able to tell from the gameplay if each of those 3 arrows that you sent can independently trigger a crit hit, similar to how Kate's scatter shot can do it. If they can, then this will be the best way to trigger a damage buff with targeted buff arrowheads, the same way we do with Kate with scatter shot. But we'll have to see. That's a TBD right now. All right. Now, the other big piece of the kit that I'm really excited to try is right over here. So the split shot arrow and the bag of tricks. So this is really awesome. This is extremely interesting. This is going to work similarly to Kate's detonator arrow, where you hold triangle and then you continuously tap triangle after to follow up with some extra shots, and it basically just kind of locks in on the closest enemy and auto targets them. You don't have to actually aim down sights, but it'll start off shooting one split shot arrow, then it will shoot a tripwire arrow, and then an instantly detonating pulsar arrow. Lastly, it'll shoot 3 split shot arrows, all of which will auto-target the nearest enemy. Now, I can see myself spamming this a lot. This seems like a super fun skill and probably pretty powerful to actually spam. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this works exactly, because this is technically a heavy attack. This is a heavy power attack, I should say. This is not one of his ranged abilities. So as you know with Kate, when you send out those detonator arrows, a lot of people use those to spread her status effect. It actually goes by the status effect on your melee piece, not on your ranged piece. So I imagine these arrows will work the same way. It's also very possible that they might scale off of might, which could make for a nice, melee / fake ranged hybrid build. But even if it's only used to spread status effects, I think that will be extremely powerful. All right, so moving on, the most important thing to me and what gets me most excited for Clint is, of course, his heroic abilities. Every single one of these abilities looks like absolute fire, and what I was hoping would happen has come true. I was predicting this, but what it is looking like is all of his heroics will have some level of generation of heroic orbs. So I'll save you some time in the rest of the video. I'll be building a High Valor, Ring of Nebulum, heroic spam Hawkeye build. I can already pick out all these skills with a high degree of confidence. For the support heroic, I'll definitely be using the critical care skill here. If I can show you real quick and pause it, this skill basically gives 20% crit chance and crit damage to all allies that are actually in the heal field. That's going to be extremely good. 20% crit chance and crit damage. Combine that with a damage boost, and everything you do in that heal field, including your ultimate and your assault heroic, will absolutely always be a crit hit. So that's fantastic. The other side of this, which we don't really get too quick of a glance at, is that there's actually a 30% chance, not that one, but there's a 30% chance to actually spawn heroic orbs. Here it is. Enemies defeated within the nanobot swarm have a 30% chance to drop a heroic orb. Fantastic. That's absolutely what I'll be using. You'll be able to use that to get back your heal field and all of your abilities by killing mobs inside of that heroic orb. And not we'll have to see how it looks, but the way I read this, it might apply to your allies, killing enemies inside the heroic orb or the heal field spawn in that orb, not just Hawkeye, but we'll have to see how that works. Now for the assault heroic, I gotta use the fire NATO. It's absolutely the most badass thing. For the the augments, I'll probably use the larger radius on it, but maybe use the extra damage piece. We'll have to see. But the Fire NATO looks the absolute sickest out of the 3. They all look very good. Being able to launch enemies looks great, and the plasma damage will be really nice with the next thing I'm about to say. Also, the enemies killed with the assault heroic have a 10% drop chance intrinsically to drop a heroic orb, and that's without any upgrades. And he also stores 2 charges of the Night Storm arrow, so that's going to be fantastic. All right, and then lastly, for the ultimate, this one is the doozy, right? So this is the Hunter's Arrow. So finally, we get another one-off super. Instead of a roaming super, you just activate it, it goes, and then you go about your business. Similar to Hulk's Clap or Thor's Bifrost. Hawkeye is now the third character to get this. So you get this Yondu arrow. It goes through everything. It looks super sick. I will almost certainly be using the Twin Talons tree here. Option here basically fires 2 Hunter's arrows. I imagine that's probably the best one, but the other piece of it is that it applies shock damage to all affected targets. Now that's fantastic. That can wombo combo with the plasma that we already get from the fire NATO and whatever element we might be getting from our gear. Remember, like I said, using that bag of tricks, if all of those arrows do the damage that you get off of your melee piece, like Kate's do for the detonation, I can see a lot of battery effect happening with Hawkeye. I can see a lot of damage being green numbers, because he's going to be spreading status effects, he's going to be shocking, he's going to be plasmin. I can already see it. And then the other thing, of course, is on the other side of the tree here. We get a very fast glance at it, but basically any enemy killed with the Hunter's arrow has a 30% chance of dropping a heroic orb as well. So really, that's it. So think about like Hulk right now. Like a lot of people play Hulk, high valor. You go in, you activate your Bone Shaker, you clap everybody in the room, and then you collect their orbs. I'm thinking the same exact thing with Hawkeye. You go in, you activate the heal field, you activate the Hunter's arrow, you throw down a fire NATO, you kill everything in the radius, you collect all the orbs that it generates, and then you repeat. I'm going to combine that with a crazy high amount of valor, and I'm going to be using the cluster arrows for the high stun so that he can do takedowns on enemies and get even more orbs to continuously spam those abilities. I see him being one of the coolest and most fun characters with potentially crazy damage, support for other team members, great elemental damage spreading, and great battery effect. Anyway, that's how I'm going to be focusing on Hawkeye. I'll have a full build guide shortly after release, letting you guys know how it works out. But in the meantime, let me know what you think of Hawkeye down in the comments. Let me know what skills you're excited about, how you think you're going to play him. And as always, like and subscribe for more.